Welcome to Comprehensive Outdoors. I'm Jeff Hale. This channel is made to help you become a more complete hunter or fisher. Today, this is a second video where the first video we talked about tippet size. In this video, we're going to talk about how do I know what size tippet to use for what size fly that I'm going to fish. Well, let's talk about flies for a minute. So, like tippet, the higher number the fly is, so there's like a size 2, a size 4, a size 6, a size 8, a size 10. In fly fishing, flies generally go from like a 2, and they can go all the way to like a 22, a 24. I've never fished anything smaller than a 22. I'll probably never do it again. I don't really enjoy it. You have to use fine tippets like 8X. Most of the time, I will never probably fish anything smaller than an 18. If the fish are so keyed in on bugs that are smaller than an 18, I probably just say forget it and I go find some different fish. But so I digress. So as the tippet size gets bigger, the diameter of the line gets smaller. It's the same thing with flies. As the number gets bigger, the flies get smaller. So let's take a look. So this is a great big coho fly that we use off the beach for coho, right? And it's got this is a funky one. It's got all three colors. It's got green, chartreuse, and white. They call it the bozo clouser. And this has actually got a great big hook on it. This is a size 1. They'll also use like a 1/0 sometimes, right? So that's a big fly. Here we have a fly that I would say is like a size 4. That is a classic adult stonefly, right? Pteronarces californica is what they call them, but you'll see these big stoneflies come off, especially in June down in the Deschutes River. That's a pretty big dry fly. And then you got stuff that's small, right? Like that right there. I don't know if you can see that. That's a little emerger, right? And that's probably a size 18. Here's a little size 18 elk hair caddis, right? Well, like I said, I always learn a lot from gear fishing to fly fishing, from fly fishing to gear fishing. So let's think about this for a minute. If I was spin fishing or I was gear fishing, I wouldn't want to use 4-pound test and tie that onto a 2-ounce jig. What would happen? Well, the line would break. First of all, the diameter of 4-pound test is way too thin and too small to tie onto a 2-ounce jig, and as I'm jerking it through the water or as I hook a fish, pop, it's just gonna pop off. In fact, probably when you casted it, the line is so light that if you had any kind of a snag or as the line's coming off your spool, bam, it's gonna crack that and it's gonna come off. You got a big lure, you're gonna use heavier line, like 15 or 20-pound test line. By the same token, if I was fishing for panfish and I'm using a tiny little crappie jig, I probably am going to use 2 or 4-pound test, right? First of all, I wouldn't be able to get 20-pound test line through the eye of the hook. So that's the first problem. And the second problem is if I had 20-pound test tied to a little jig, it would feel tethered. It wouldn't look natural and it wouldn't swim right. It's the same thing with flies. Okay, so we talked about tippet sizes. How do I know what size tippet to use for the fly? Okay, here's a general rule of thumb, and this will work well if you're just getting into fly fishing. Okay, I call it the divide by 3 plus 1. Divide by 3 plus 1. So, let's say I have this big old number 2 or number 4. Let's say that's a number 4 stonefly hook. Stonefly, all right? So if I take 4 and I divide it by 3, what is that? That's about 1, right? That's about 1. Plus 1. 1 plus 1 is 2. I could use a 2X tippet or a 1X tippet. It wouldn't matter either way. I could use a 1X or a 2X. Going to a 3X tippet, you could do it, but I probably wouldn't. All right, let's say I'm using a size 10 fly. What's 10 divided by 3? Well, that's about 3. 3 plus 1. So I could use a 3X tippet or a 4X tippet. 3X or 4X is about right for a number size 10 fly. What if, let me switch colors here so you can see, because I don't think this red is showing up very well. Let's flip it this way. What if I was using a size 18 fly, right? This is a size 18 fly, and you're saying to yourself, well, what tippet should I have for that? How small should I go? The general rule is divide by 3 plus 1, right? Somewhere in there. Well, 18 divided by 3 is 6. You could use a 6X tippet or plus 1 a 7X tippet. Anywhere between 6 and 7X is about right. This is just a starting point, right? So whatever this fly size is, you divide by 3, and you can use that or go +1. Anywhere in that range is correct. Now there's always going to be exceptions to the rule. There will always be exceptions to the rule. One thing I have found, that if you go back and watch the video on using the no-slip mono loop, using the no-slip mono loop, you can get away with using a heavier tippet and still having good movement on the fly, especially when you're going to be fishing things like a streamer or a nymph, but also with a dry fly. You don't ever want your dry fly to look tethered, like it's attached to something. You want it to be floating natural, looking like it's floating, just coming by, and a trout will see it and it looks like a natural bug, right? So this is just a general way to determine what size tippet should I use for my fly. Let's do one more. Okay, I just tied on a size 12 caddis, okay? What's 12 divided by 3? 4. +1 is 5. 4, 5X, 4X, 5X. Anywhere in there is about the right size. And remember from the prior video, when you're adding tippet, you don't ever want to step down more than 2 sizes. Okay, well, I hope this helps you. Trout season is here. I hope you're going out to your rivers or your local lakes, and I'll be doing some other videos coming up shortly on the type of leaders we use with sinking lines. All right, if you like the content, please subscribe. Hope you're having a safe and healthy lockdown. See you next time.